Hey everyone, welcome back to RetroBreak. Today we're checking out these two brand new retro emulation consoles right here that are actually styled off the Game Boy Micro. It's so cool to see consoles like this coming out with such a small form factor, and they can do a lot of really cool stuff as well. So let's take a look, starting first with the design of both of these systems. So here's the back of the system. You can see the logo there and the model number A30, and if we turn it around, here's how it looks on the front. We have a D-pad and an analog stick, which is something that the Anbernic one here doesn't have, and it's basically exactly the same as all the other analog sticks on these mini consoles. You can see it's got 4 face buttons. They all feel really nice too, and a little speaker there. The speaker grill's a little weird. You can only see it from the side, so it's not directly facing forward. Start and select buttons. On the side there we have the power button and 2 LED indicators, one to show when it's charging and one to show when it's powered on. And at the top, of course, you have your L and R triggers, but you also have L2 and R2 as well. And they feel really nice, and for once, they're not too clicky either, which is a problem that I have with some of these. So actually, these ones look and feel really nice. On the top here, we have the volume, we have the USB-C port for charging, and we have a home button right there, and that's it. A very, very simple design. Of course, you've also got the micro SD card slot at the bottom there. Only one slot. Some of these devices have 2. And now for the RG28XX. I requested this design specifically because of course it mimics the original Game Boy, which I just love. In terms of weight, it weighs pretty much the same. It is very, very slightly smaller, as you can see there, maybe 50mm smaller. The buttons themselves are also a lot smaller as well. And it is kind of strange because if you put your thumb over it, you can actually cover up all the buttons completely, whereas this one feels a bit more natural. This one, you're basically pressing them all at once. And the D-pad on this one is actually in the middle of the console, whereas it's on the top of that one. And obviously there's no analog stick. The start and select buttons are down there instead. But yeah, very, very simple interface here on the front. Basically just what you need for those kind of games though. On the top here though, there is something that the Miyoo one doesn't have, and that is a HDMI output. So if you have a mini HDMI, I think that is, you can actually then link it up to a TV or a monitor or a capture card, and we can try that out a bit later on. We have the home button right there, we have the 2 LEDs with the USB-C port, we have the triggers, which unfortunately don't really feel that nice, and they're extremely clicky, which is completely at odds with this one, which are almost silent, so I'm really not a fan of them. They don't really feel very nice at all. On here we have a power button, and I think we also have a reset button here as well. And another benefit to this one, you actually get 2 different micro SD cards, and only one of the slots is actually filled up. Let's see what they put in there. A 64 gig card. But the idea of having 2 is basically so that you can use the operating system from one of their devices and then transfer it instantly to the other one, or you can swap the ROMs between the 2 as well. So that was a quick overview of the design of both of these systems. Let me know in the comments below which one of these 2 you think looks the best and which one you think has the best button layout and things like that. And now let's get them switched on and we can have a look at the operating systems. And as I'm turning them both on here, I'll turn them both on at exactly the same time so we can check how long they take to boot up. I did find that you have to hold it down for quite a while on both the systems before anything actually happens. So there we go. Let's see which one boots up first. And of course, this is an issue with these systems because on an original console, you can literally just flick a switch and it just turns on instantly, whereas these have to boot up the operating system and it's a long and slow process. But the Miyoo did just about beat out the RG there, so the Miyoo wins that round. And as you can see, I have changed some of the themes on this, but they feature the same built-in operating systems as a lot of the other systems. And I don't think at the minute that there's any custom firmware for these, so what's built in is what we're stuck with. And I'll just go into the settings and turn the screen brightness down a little bit so it looks a bit better on the camera. I think that looks a bit better there. So let's take a look at the operating system that's built in on both of them. So on this one here, this is the Anbernic one. On this one we have 2 different ways of accessing games. We have RetroArch or RA game, and then we also have game rooms as well, which I presume is a misspelling of game ROMs. And within here you have a list of all the different systems that are built into this system, but if you go on RA game instead, you actually have a different list of systems, which was fairly confusing at first. So there's a few extra ones on here like Pico, Pokemon Mini, Virtual Boy, Mega CD and things that don't show up in the game room selection. So if you do get one of these, make sure to check both. And that is actually the same on this one here. So if we go in game, We have one specific set of systems here. And again, at least both companies are consistently incorrect. There's actually a spelling mistake right there as well, where arcade is spelt wrong. And as you can see in here, this is actually grouping all the different arcade machines together, which is kind of different to how the other system did it. And this one, if you go across, you can see all the games and systems that this one's compatible with. I think this will be a lot better for playing things like N64 there, or like Dreamcast, because it does have that analog stick, whereas this one doesn't. But as far as I'm aware, they can both play pretty much the same set of games. And then again, on the RetroArch side, you've got a list of all the different RetroArch cores here as well. And there's 3 pages to choose from, and I presume you can add your own as well. And then both of these systems have the option to recall your most recent games. So there's a history on this one, and you can see any games that you've played in the list on the history. And the same again on this one. If you go on the history, you can see a list of all the games that you've played. And if you've favorited any, both of them also have a section here to add your favourite ROMs, so you don't need to go through the list of games to find them. And of course they also have a search centre, and interestingly, they both have app libraries as well. The Miyoo here didn't actually come with any apps pre-installed, only RetroArch or USB storage if you're using the USB-C cable. I presume you can download some off the internet to put onto this, but this one actually has a bunch of things built in. It's got a music player, it's got a video player. I don't know whether there's anything on here, I haven't looked at this yet. There is, Hotel California. I'll probably get a copyright strike for this. The volume is on that side, that's something I didn't pick up on. And yeah, the sound quality out of the speaker's not very good, but I better stop that before I get a copyright strike. The sound quality out of the speakers isn't great. But maybe through the headphones it's fine. So if you do need an MP3 player or something, maybe this is a cool little thing to have to listen to music. Let's see if there's any videos included. Here's a example video that's included on this one. Is it a long advert for Anbernic? The screen quality is actually quite nice. Like, look how sharp and clear that video is. So there you go. There's an example of how videos look on it. So if you do get one of these, download my YouTube videos, you have my permission, and play a video on this and then show me. I think that would be so funny. So let's go back to the menu, so you can do that and then click on Close App, and then go to Yes. The UI is kind of all over the place, like some menus look completely different to other ones. There's eBooks, File Manager, and Expert. I don't know what Expert is. Oh, that's just another file manager, so I don't really know what the difference is between them two. And then of course, they both have settings. I won't bother going through all the options. It's basic things like changing the theme. So these all have different themes, and you can download different themes off the internet as well. But I know why you're all here. Let's check out some games. Let's start with checking out some NES games. That's always a good starting point. And as you can see, they all come preloaded with a bunch of ROMs here. As always, I have no idea what order they put these ROMs in. They just have random numbers and game names next to them. But let's check out something I haven't tried on here before. So right off the bat with the default settings, I can definitely say that the Miyoo one looks a lot clearer. There's kind of a weird, I guess it's kind of hard to pick up on the camera, but there's a little bit of a fuzziness to the text on the Anbernic, whereas the Miyoo is completely clear. Like, I'll try and get them both on the shot there so you can see a comparison between the two. They both seem to be running at full speed, although I do think the colours are a little bit clearer and sharper as well on the Miyoo, so I would definitely say that the screen is better on that. Let's see if there's any options on here. Video display effect. That one's made it flicker a bit for some reason. That one's made it even worse. The scanline one it really doesn't like. I think that's showing up on the camera too. For some reason this screen's very, very flickery. Yeah. And you can change the aspect ratio. Oh, that's helped the font a little bit. Let's try... Is there a 4:3 option? No, you only have very, very limited options. Let's have a quick look at these. So, display aspect ratio, we have full screen, we have aspect, which I guess is NES resolution, although it still looks a little blurry. And we have 1:1, which is square pixels, which I think looks the best, but it's very small on this screen. Like, compare it to my phone, for example. Like, it's tiny. So let's see what options we've got here on the Miyoo. We have an interesting looking menu that comes down the side there. Let's see, native menu. Okay, this one's actually in RetroArch anyway, so video scale. You can change the aspect ratio there as well. And you've got so many options on this one. Let's put that in 1.1 as well to compare the two. It's a little bit more squished on the Miyoo, if you can see the difference there. But let's see how they actually play. Let's just try a little bit. And let's try the same one here and see which one I prefer. The buttons and the screen on the Miyoo are definitely superior to the other one. Right, let's quit out of this and check out a different system. Game Boy, sure, because people love Game Boy games. What is a good Game Boy game to test? Right, I found one that's on both. We can check out Castlevania. Okay, interesting. By default, this one's actually booting up in black and white, like you would expect with an original Game Boy, but this one seems to have different colour palettes available from the start, and I think this was the default one that this one came with. Well, there's a load of different colours to go through. I think they might actually match either the colours that you can choose on the Game Boy Advance or the Super Game Boy colours. They all look really nice. I'd struggle deciding which one to go for. I wonder if there's an easier way of cycling between them. There's something off about the frame rate on this one. If you look closely, it's not as smooth. Yeah, definitely the Miyoo wins this round too. Right, let's check out another system. Let's try something a little bit harder to emulate. Let's try one of the more recent home consoles that this thing can do. And I won't bother going through all of this right now, because if you want to see how more systems work, then check out my video on this. They're all basically the same under the hood. Let's try Mega Drive. Let's try Sonic. That's always a good one to test with. Let's see if Sonic's on here. The order's completely different. Yeah, looks and plays great. I'd be really happy if this was my first emulation system. And let's see how it plays on the other one. Oh, again, we have a really bad frame rate going on there. Not sure what's going on with this system. It's like the refresh time on the screen is a bit off or something. I don't know if it will pick up too well on the camera, but there's definitely some frame drops going on there. But overall, it's still fairly playable. I would definitely recommend this over the two. Like, have a look how much smoother the scrolling is. Alright, let's try out one of the 3D systems. Okay, let's try Nintendo 64. Now, I don't know whether these will actually have any of the same games. Okay, this one doesn't have N64 at all, so instead, let's try what's on here that they do both have. There's Dreamcast. Was Dreamcast on this side? No. But Dreamcast is here. Okay, let's try Dreamcast. So there's a bunch of Dreamcast games on here. Let's see whether we have any of the same. We have Crazy Taxi. That'll be a good one to test it with. It'll be interesting to see how these handle Dreamcast emulation. Well, it looks like the intro boots up nicely on both of them. Right, let's start with this one, as this one's booted up. I keep forgetting where the volume things are. Hopefully I don't get demonetized for this as well. And this one does have an analog stick as well, which might make it nicer to play. Let's just do the same on both. Oh, and it's got rumble too. Kind of weird layered rumble. Let's see what the buttons are. It's pretty surreal playing something like this on something so small. Ooh, there's some pretty bad frame issues. And the rumble's non-stop. Actually, it's pretty playable. It's better than I've seen on some of these systems. But yeah, you can hear from the music that it's not great. Yeah, you would not want to play this with the sound on. Let's go make some crazy money. Weirdly, the volume slider is very slow to adjust. It actually looks a lot smoother on this one. That's weird. What? Okay, that's weird. This one's actually running a lot smoother. Strange. And this game doesn't really need the analog stick, so honestly I would say for Dreamcast, at least very early first impressions, this seems to run it a lot nicer than the Miyoo one. Which is very surprising considering the 2D consoles didn't work as well. But yeah, even the sound's running at full speed. I'm guessing you could fix the issues on both of them in the settings. But yeah, that was definitely not expected. Obviously bear in mind that I'm just using both of these completely out of the box. Obviously bear in mind that I've been using these completely out of the box, and I'm sure if you can tweak them to your liking, let's try PSP, that would be interesting. If you can tweak them to your liking, there's probably better ways of getting the power out of the systems. There's PSP on this one. Well, it seems to play fine. Nice smooth frame rate. Kind of weird playing the PSP on something so small. I'd be happy playing PSP games on this. This looks really nice. It is a little bit cramped, and I did notice then that because it's so small, my thumb accidentally pressed the analog stick. But maybe that's just because of the way I'm holding it to see so the camera can see. And the only other issue with it being so small is your thumb goes over the speaker. But yeah, really impressed. So let's take a quick look at how the RG works through the HDMI cable. You can see once you connect it to the screen on the handheld actually turns off and the screen becomes the screen that's coming through the HDMI slot. Here's how it looked in OBS, and now we'll swap over to what the output looks like. Unfortunately, it's very bad. Quite possibly the worst that I've ever seen the SNES look on any kind of output, including the original system, so I really don't see what use this would actually have to me. But if you've got no other option, I guess it's cool that you can play the games on a TV. But I was really shocked at how bad the quality is here, honestly. So let me know down in the comments below what you thought of these two. Obviously there's so much more that these consoles can do, and there's a lot of YouTube channels that are dedicated to things like this. So go ahead and do a little bit of a search on YouTube to find out some more information about these. But for now, if you want to get your hands on either of them, I've actually been given affiliate links by both of the companies that sent them. So if you want to go to Keep Retro's website, that is where you can get this Miyoo one right here. And if you want to go to Geek Goo, then that's where you can get this one right here, and there'll be links in the description down below to both of them. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to watch my thoughts on more retro handheld emulation systems, then I've started building up a playlist, and you can click up there and watch some more. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all again very soon. Goodbye.